WizKids Open discussion coming right up. Mr. Clicksflix is brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama, home of the ROC. No matter if you're in the United States or around the world, Lucky Dice Cafe has the winning role for our gaming needs. You can visit them at luckydicecafé.com or on their Facebook page using the link found in the description of this video. Alright guys, today is a very special episode. We have with us none other than Mr. Howard Brock, owner of Lucky Dice Cafe, who does sponsor the channel. He also runs the ROC, and it was just announced not that long ago that he is working with WizKids on their WizKids Open. So thank you for joining us, Howard.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So for people that don't know exactly who you are, that might be under the proverbial Heroclix rock, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a Heroclix player that's been playing almost since the beginning. I've got one world championship, actually two world championships, because of Team Sealed under my belt. I own ROC. I own a game store, and I've been in and around the Heroclix community for a long time. So I'm known mostly through there and through ROC, or because I won the world championship.
Yep. Yeah. Howard's been around for, it feels like ever. And I've literally never heard anybody say anything bad about you. So just a general good guy. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. We have a few bullet points we're going to talk about. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This might get a little long, but I think it's going to be interesting. So the first thing we're going to do is, Howard, how was your experience working directly with WizKids, the parts that you're allowed to talk about? Because that's pretty interesting, and it's different to us because we know that you were a player first. So to get kind of like a player's perspective on what it's like to work with, you know, the big company.
Well, first of all, I want everybody to know that WizKids really cares about the game, and they really care about their players. There's a misconception sometimes that WizKids may be a little arrogant. They don't care. They're going to do what they do, and it's all about profit. Any business profit is important, but I promise you that that's not the only thing that they look at. They watch, they listen, they read more. But they keep a little bit silent. But they are behind the scenes. They are doing things, and a lot of times. We read too much into what they do. A lot of times we give them too much credit and not enough credit on things that they do. Lots of things. Their decision making isn't always based on the now, but it's often after. And there's things that they know they may be going in a direction that we are not aware of, and making decisions based on that. Where we find it very upsetting. Again, being in the beginning. I'll give you a good example of this. Playing from the beginning, I went through what we would call the first retirement, where figures became not modern age legal. I was furious. I was totally upset. I spent all this money collecting all of these figures. Now I can't play with them anymore, and I didn't like it. Because I was at that time. I'm not so much anymore, but I was a completionist, and I had everything, and I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, and that it was going to ruin the game, and that everything and the sky was falling in. But I can tell you now that, and after I played more. And after I went through so many things, that retirement is a necessity, and it's something that should happen because the game evolves, and by doing retirement and bringing in freshness and the game changing constantly, we don't want a stale game. We don't want we don't want a piece that was the best piece back 10 years ago to still be the best piece that everybody's fearing. And the game being the same. And so I went totally different on my thinking about some of the decisions that at first I thought was bad. Now working with them, I'm able to see some of the things that they're looking at, and things are more clear and things make more sense to me. So that's what I probably got more out of this than anything.
Okay, very cool. Oh man, yeah. So that sounds interesting. Just to sort of get like the take a look at the wizard behind the curtain. But
Absolutely.
yeah. So over Christmas time, you guys made an announcement on Realms Open Championship. It was on Facebook's where I saw it the most. So if you guys are paying attention, there'll be a link in the comments section to the Facebook page. Go ahead over, give them a like, so that you guys can see this yourself. But you guys had a 12 days of Clicksmas. This is a throwback to a program they used to have a way long time ago, where they'd spoil certain things for the year. But you guys had your own one, and it was pretty good actually. So we're gonna go ahead. Some of these aren't really pertinent right now, but some of them are. So we're gonna talk about the ones that still matter. So the first Clicksmas one was that maps legal for ROC play, and it gives a list of that, and then maps that will be legal for WizKids play. And they are ROC maps that are legal for WizKids play. So that's a pretty big one. The ones that are listed are Hedge map, Airline, The Trenches, Pal Farm, and Best Friends Forever. And I'm sure there's going to be more added to those. And another announcement later, I believe, also goes on to those. So was that a difficult process to get the maps all lined up, or was that pretty easy?
When I started talking to WizKids, that was one of the things that I was very adamant about, that ROC maps be legal. If I'm coming into this and we're going to be doing things, this is something that definitely makes ROC more legitimate, makes it where players want to play. It's something that, if we want to make this work, this is something that's got to happen. And I mean, it was kicked around. The first thing that was discussed was making all ROC maps legal, but that WizKids would have to go and look over all the maps to make sure that there weren't anything in there that was two things that they would be looking at. One is to make sure that they weren't breaking the game, that there wasn't something there that shouldn't be played, and secondly, that there was no copyright infringements, and or any chance doing something against a license that they had with like Marvel or DC that could be an infringement. So that was the first discussion, and we were going to go that route, and that just kind of kept maturing to finally we said, I had already made the decision before this that I was going to retire ROC, so to speak, and do a 2-year cycle similar to what WizKids does, and that I would just anything that was 2 years, come January, I was going to retire and just be playing with those maps plus the one we really gives you a 3-year window.
Right.
If you're buying a map in January, it's going to be legal for really 3 years, not 2 years, because you've got all these maps this year will be legal for the next 2 years, and then you have another year that they're still legal because it's being produced. So you really got 3 years of a map today that's going to be in play. So that was never an issue. That going forward, we knew ROC maps. So where would we cut it off with WizKids? And we kicked around a lot of things. And honestly, it was my decision and my push to go back 1 quarter. I wanted to do quarter, and I didn't want to go back the whole year because I felt like that last quarter, there were some possible things that might be looked at a little hard, and I didn't want to pick and choose maps and say, okay, we're going to have these. We got 15 maps. These 10 are good. These 5 are not. So we left it alone. This is going to be our starting point. I wanted to make sure that the most recent maps that were out were going to be able to be legal. We just had the maps come out in December that the World Champions designed. I wanted those maps to be legal for sure.
Yeah.
Not the World Champions, ROC Champions.
Yep.
I want to make, and the maps that just came out, I thought they were good maps. I think that the 3 maps for the last quarter are the Hedge Maze, and the National Air, and the other one is the Trenches. And I think all those are good maps that can be used. I wanted to see some use out of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're good maps, and I like that there's going to be crossover. And I believe I don't know. I might be spoiling something for later, but the future rock maps that are included for WizKids, they'll have the WizKids logo on them.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
We've already
Okay.
started. The one we ran last night has the WizKids logo on it. Even the Battle Royal maps
Mm-hmm.
have WizKids logos on them.
Very cool. So that'll be
There's
less confusing for everybody then.
absolutely, and there's some potential talk. I mean, one of the things that WizKids is this is something that I don't think that's. I think it's something that I can share, but there's there's I think that you'll eventually see official battle royal rules,
Mm-hmm.
and that they'll be able to run battle royals through the WizKids system to be able to keep track. And I think that you're going to have. I think there's some formats coming out that's going to be for battle royals and so on and so forth. And because when I talked to WizKids, I said, well, we don't have to put the WizKids logo on. No, we want it on there. We
Mm-hmm.
want the logo on there. We got some ideas for battle. So expect that to keep coming. And I think that you're going to continue to see battle royal maps be used and be a part of WizKids Opens also. So I think that's realized, and they want battle royals to continue to be part of everything.
That's awesome. And I can tell you, like, as a judge at my venue, having a way to put it in the win would be they would be my hero if they could do that. but because that is a nightmare to try to figure out how that goes in there if you're in a hurry. But anyway, all right. So we'll go to the second announcement, which was some rules changes, notable keepers from the merger. So notable changes in keepers that it says is last round is being replaced with last action. I know some people feel some ways about that, and we'll have you talk about it after I get through everything. 0-point ties in Swiss will be a double loss. And that this is possibly going to be a rule for a single elimination. I agree with that. If you're just messing around the entire game, you should get a loss. Then ties with points will be a roll-off. Points for buys will be half of the tournament build. That's just a good rule there. Tournaments will follow a chart to determine the number of rounds. That's good there, just so that venues don't have too much wiggle room. Like, if there's a number, depending on the number of players, how many rounds you're going to be playing. And then modern age 300 points is now the staple for ROC events, with possibly new ones being added. And then with the exception of winner maps, at which point you can run what you want. So I know a lot of people feel strongly about that. So I'll give you a chance to address that. But I do want to point out that winner maps, you can still, as far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can run basically what you want for those.
That is correct.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, you're up.
All right. So this is what I will say, and I want to be very clear about this, is that the idea going into this with WizKids is to derive or to make one set of rules that everyone follows, both in ROC and with WizKids.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get something in ROC, what would that mean? That means that's probably going to be a WizKids rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So WizKids is looking at all this. They have their rules team, but I've already had discussions with who I talk to at WizKids, and we're in agreement on all of those rules that are there. Now, that doesn't mean that WizKids team isn't going to come back to rules team and say, hey, we don't like this because, and we want to change this. And I'm telling you straight up now that if it gets to that and then we come to an agreement, I will bend and because I want things to be the same in both places.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't want confusion. There's things that are in our rules that I'm very adamant about. There's some things that I'm not so adamant about, and there's some things that I didn't think really made that much difference.
Mm-hmm.
So when we decided to do these, Um, I knew I knew some things that Whiz Kids were just going to not have any part of,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew some of it. I may have agreed or not agreed with it, um, with what they said, but I knew that it was not worth fighting about. But I did fight, or did I was adamant about things that I was felt strongly about, and those things are there. So the point is that players can expect seeing in rock to at some point be also with whiz kids,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. And that's what that's the big point there. I also knew that the things that we were going to lose, and you brought up some of them,
Mm-hmm.
that there were going to be players that were upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that players. Let's go to the limit. The limited format is the two things that I think that players are upset, or overall that people are upset about, would be the limited format and last round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I some of the other stuff I think people liked. Some of the stuff we kept, but those two things were, and maybe the format. The format would be, yeah, the format, and those two things are the things that people were upset about. I didn't really hear anything much way the other.
Mm-hmm.
Last round first, then we'll talk about format. Last round in Heroclix, the only true fairness would be to play until somebody was wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be honest.
Right.
To
Yeah.
really determine the winner of a game would be to play it for however much time, and then when somebody wasn't left on the board, you win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can't do that because of time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that would be the other thing that would be the most fair to determine a true winner of a tournament would be for everybody to play each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you really want to know who's best in the room, the only way is for everybody to play each other, determine who the best player is, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
But we can't do that because of time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there goes the most fair thing in HeroClix would be to have a last round so that both players have the same amount of turns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I've had it argued for and against being that people can manipulate that, but I think anything can be manipulated, but it's also a little difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the thing. But there's a problem again, and for my first objections on the two things that was the most fair was time constraints. Last round also produces something with time constraints. So even though it's something that we at ROC invented,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that I agree with is probably the most fair that it can be,
Mm-hmm.
all considering there is a problem called time in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not see it when we first did this rule. I didn't really see it being abused that much.
Mm-hmm.
But as time has went by, players have got accustomed to what last round means.
Mm-hmm.
I see it get abused, and the abuse isn't that somebody manipulates the movement of the game so much to where the last round occurs at a certain time, as much as it is that players will spend as much time as they want trying to determine what they can do and what the best move is.
Mm-hmm.
And at the Rock Cup, I saw it in action where we had games that were extended 25, 30 minutes.
Oh man. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, we're set up to go 40 rounds, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then a WizKids game, a WizKids time is 50 minutes. So we're set up to go 40, and we're allowing 10 minutes for that last round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm telling you that that's not always happening. I'm telling you that it's going way beyond that. And when you have a tournament, it doesn't mean a whole lot in a small tournament, but when you have a tournament of a higher scale where you've got 60 plus people there, that those games that occur that way, um, is it can it's it, I mean I've watched games where people still had um, they had walking woods on the board,
Mm-hmm.
they had two or three walking woods, they had leadership, they had free retaliation, um, and you had all kinds of stuff that they could do and where they could move and how to knock a wall. And they'll sit there and they'll, because they can, they'll use every bit of time and think every situation out, count every little square.
Mm-hmm.
They're not stalling. They're just really just trying to make sure that they make the perfect moves to give them a chance to win or to prevent the other guy from not winning.
Right.
And that's that time frame can be extensive, and all it takes is one game. And the odds are that if you have a field of 60 plus people, that you're going to have one game per round. That scenario is going to occur, and now you're adding in an extra 10, 15 minutes per round.
Mm-hmm.
That adds up.
Yes, it does.
That adds up over time. So that was WizKids' biggest objection. They also, unbeknownst to me, were watching that,
Mm-hmm.
and they were getting reports back from the Cup.
Mm-hmm.
They were watching the time and everything, and that was something that they were concerned about. And the time between rounds and out. We already we just came back from PAX, and PAX had some situations where they were trying to rush the tournament at the end. Good God, if they'd had last round in that scenario instead of last action,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what time we got done. And to me, the tournament was cut short as it was.
Mm-hmm.
How much more we would have been rushed.
Right. Yeah, you
So
might have
that's
lost
why.
the whole round.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not. I understand. I understand why people feel the way that they do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. But I also I see what's happening, and I really can't argue against that because I've seen it. It's happening, and we can't have tournaments. I mean, 15, 20 minutes around. If you're playing 8 hours of 8 rounds
Mm-hmm.
or 8 to 9 rounds, if you add in, say just 5 times, you're adding in an hour and a half of play,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not good.
Right. Yeah, that is way too long. Oh, man. Okay, so that stuff was all addressed for the people that are concerned with those things. So I guess we're going to skip to announcement number 3, which is the contents of the ROC packages are changing. Now, for time reasons, we're just going to cover the Winamap because I feel like that's what a lot of people get anyway. But they are all increased in a similar manner. All of them have extra stuff and are bringing a lot more value. But so for a Winamap, it used to be $50, and you'd get a map, and you'd get some dice, ROC limited edition dice, and limited edition 3D objects. But now for the same $50, you guys didn't increase the cost at all. You get I'll just announce for the placement of them. So you get a boxed Con LE. So that's like not necessarily Lockjaw, but something like Lockjaw, Power Woman, Joker, like all those boxed ones.
You got a 1 in 8 chance of getting a Lockjaw.
Right. Then you get 10 WizKids open points, dice, 2 3D objects, and the prize map still. All right. Now, if that wasn't enough, then second place gets a redialed exclusive. So those are like the Heat Wave and Impulse type guys. Yep. Then you also get 10 WizKids open points. You get your dice, and you get 2 3D objects. Then third place now gets something, which is an ID card, 5 WizKids open points, 2 3D objects. And fourth place gets the same thing. All other participants get 1 WizKids open points. Now that is what I talk about when I say pump up the volume on some value. Because that is, even if you just gave out the stuff for first place, sans everything else, just the map's worth it. But then when you talk about all the other stuff, you're talking about First place has a chance at least doubling the money that was the cost of the Winamap, and that's not including what anybody else gets. And then I guess we should talk about the WizKids Open points just in case somebody didn't know. Now it's, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you have to have 100 points for a national championship, or is it 200?
Well, there's two ways to qualify at the moment.
Yeah.
And the key word there is at the moment. There's two ways to qualify.
Okay.
So the way you can qualify is through, well, I guess there's a third way too, because you can show up and just qualify there. But the other way to qualify is to go to a WizKids Open, and they're still giving out buys based on the number of people. All we're doing, we're giving out points instead of buys, and those points accumulate throughout the year. Points, 100 points for nationals, and 200 points for world.
200 points for worlds. And the nice thing is, I believe they never expire, and so they only go away once you basically spend them. And you can accumulate up to 300 total. So that's one nationals and one worlds bid. In a year.
That was my plan there. I wanted that to be there because we can't always go to worlds. We can't always go to nationals. And we also, I think about, and you're going to know somebody. Everybody knows somebody. You're going to think about that guy that plays every week, that shows up to tournaments, that travels, and he just loves to play. But he isn't all that good. He doesn't hardly ever win, but he's always there. He's always having a good time, and he's always usually in the middle of the pack, and he's against him, but he's not the guy that wins, but he wants to go all the time, and that's the guy I was about. And that guy, he can play, and if he plays enough, he gets enough points over time, and he can get qualified for worlds just like everybody else.
Right, and I really like that a lot. I thought that was a nice touch to make it so that, other people have a chance, even if they didn't necessarily win anything. You're able to just sort of grind it out. It might take you a year or two if you're just kind of henpecking at it, but if you're really trying, you can grind it out and not necessarily win everything, but you can accrue enough points to get there to get your shot if you want to just say, hey, I participated. So I did like that, and like I said, the at the different levels, even though we just covered the Winamap, you guys really packed those full of value. At least I felt. So that was a good job on that. And was that a difficult thing to get arranged to get the LEs and stuff for that from WizKids?
Well, not really. So, to give you a little history there to how that all came about being and why. And I'm going to touch on cash also at the same time, because that was another thing that people were upset about.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to tie this all when we to determine pricing and everything. And I've said this and I'll say it again. Do not blame WizKids for cash not being at the ROC Cup. That was my decision. In fact, WizKids was excited about having the prospect of having cash in the system. They thought kind of cool that they would have a tournament over here that awards cash and another tournament over here that awards prizes. So they had no problem with it. But I also knew that with the way, and I want you guys to explain these. I have to. They don't just give me these figures, okay? They're not just given to me. There's a price for them, and they have to be figured into the kits. So, since all of the kits were being raised in price in prizes, so there was more cost involved. So my initial cost was going to be more, and for me to keep the cash in the system, I literally, instead of going down in price or staying the same at price, I would have had to go up some in price, because frankly, all the tournaments that we run throughout the year is what funds the $15,000 that we give away at the end of the year. Okay. So I had to think about what was most important to me and what I've watched over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, venue. I want to have more tournaments
Mm-hmm.
um, on the local and regional levels. The local and regional level is more important to me than my tournament at the end of the year and the big tournament at the end of the year. I want to see participation on the local and regional level. I want venues to feel safe and secure when they buy a kit,
Mm-hmm.
that they're giving out enormous amount of prizing, and that the risk factor is not very much because they don't have to have 30 people show up just to break even.
Right.
Um, and so we've slowly been tweaking that. So to get to that state at the moment, um, without putting anything extra. If you just, I think the ROC kits stand alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be venues that still throw out extra prizing, but there's enough prizing in all those ROC kits to stand alone. I think with that, you only have to have 12 people show up at a regional,
Mm-hmm.
12 people show up at a qualifier, and 5 people show up at a win-a-map just to break even.
Right.
And that's why, and to get there, to do that, I thought it more important to pull the cash out to where we could keep the prices down,
Mm-hmm.
where venues were more comfortable, and we could run more tournaments on a local and regional level, and where players would you by playing and wanted to play and in these tournaments, and that they would and that the venues would get excited about running things. I mean, and we've also created some other stuff
Mm-hmm.
in that process, like when you run a regional, that you're able to sell product at the regionals, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why the money was taken out, and that's why we're structured the way we are.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very cool. So I do like the changes. I understand where some people were coming from on the money end of it, but I mean, the way you guys stacked the prizes in there, you're going to be able to get your money back if that was really that big of a concern. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on to number 4 out of 12, which is states and provincials, if I said that right.
Yep.
So there's going to be constructed. There's 2 state and provincials, and first one's constructed, and it's in April, and it gives the dates. And then it gives the price and whatnot. And it says, so the pricing for these is crazy at this particular point. So I'm just going I'll go through the first few until it starts repeating. So first place, Mighty Thor Chase Prime figure, BoxCon LE, ID card, 25 WizKids open points, dice, 2 3D objects, prize map. So that's good there. Second place is Mighty Thor Chase Prime, BoxCon LE, ID card, 25 WizKids open points, dice, 2 3D objects, prize map. Third place is 20. The only difference is 20 WizKids open points. Fourth place is the same as third place. Fifth place is Mighty Thor Chase Prime figure, redial exclusive, ID card, 10 WizKids open points, dice, 2 3D objects. Then sixth place is the same. Seventh place is the same. Eighth place is the same. And then 9th through 12th place are Mighty Thor Chase Prime figure. And then it says all participants 9th place onward are 1 WizKids open point. So I guess something for me to just clarify for people, because this is going to be something that they ask, is when you get a Mighty Thor Chase figure, you also get the object.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So there you go, people. Now we are going to be flush with Mjolnirs. That's just good. I mean, you figure if you go, what is there? Three sets of Chase Primes, 2 sets of Chase Primes.
Yeah, 3 primes.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 primes. Yeah, there's 4 primes. You got common, uncommon, rare, and super rare.
Yeah. So you got, oh man, that's a ton of prizing there. So hopefully people like that. That's Now, are they going to be in like a sealed pack, or I don't know. How do you even get
They've
that
been a
many?
seal
How do you even get
pack.
that many
Yeah.
chases and primes?
Well, this is something WizKids had. I say that, and I'm actually now I'm not sure. I know that together and have to be opened up,
Yeah.
um, but that will not be an issue. It's something that um, that's kind of funny how that came up.
Hmm.
Kenny Penny and I were talking, and we were talking about pricing, and um, we were talking about, believe it or not, it started off with regionals, and we were talking about possibly putting in um, the chase sets for regionals, and that didn't happen. And then we came back, and I said, "Well, let's do it for states." I said that would be awesome,
Hmm.
and we ended up with that. And I mean, it was something we were both excited about. We want states to be special.
Hmm.
We we want the value to be there, and I don't know. I mean, you're getting. I thought states was good before.
Hmm.
We did raise our price on states by $25 for venues. I think
Right.
that they're getting more than $25 value.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I thought it was good before. I never had any complaints about it. But with what we're throwing in there now, it's just phenomenal. I mean, quite honestly,
Hmm.
I think that the rock stuff we had there before was fine by itself.
Yeah.
I think you could kick all of the rock stuff out and just go with the WizKid stuff, and people would be excited. Now you got the two together. It's like you're double dipping.
Right. Yeah. No. It's awesome. That's just good pricing. There's no getting around it. Like you said, having one or the other was good, but having both is just over the top. Um, so the next thing we're going to talk about, the next few things are going to go pretty quick. So just stay with us. Number 5 is the VIG map program.
Right.
So we're just going to talk about this briefly. It's a program you can sign up for. You can get sign up for. Can you do it once a month too, or is it 6 months and 12 months?
Well, when you sign up, you choose.
Yeah.
You pay every month,
Yeah. Okay. So you
but you
pay.
choose which program.
Yeah, and then depending on what you get, you have access to exclusive maps. And it's actually a pretty cool program. So, somebody at my venue got in for the first month, and that map it was awesome. I'm still waiting on him to actually bring it, but the maps do look cool, and they're going to be ROC and WizKids usable, correct? Or at least
Correct.
ROC. Okay, yeah.
No, they're
Um,
both. They're
oh, they're
both.
both okay. So that's awesome, and it's $30 a month, which isn't terrible. So especially for the neoprene maps, they're good quality. So the next thing we're going to talk about is number 6, which is just announcing Jay Solomon. If you guys don't know who that is, I've seen him mostly on Married with Clicks. He is the ROC head judge. I've never met him in person, but he seems like a good guy. So that'll be a good guy, and he's like omnipresent online. It's weird. Like he's just always there. So that's a good one. What was that? What did you guys do? Like just ask him, and he said okay, or have you guys been trying to work that out for a while?
I've known Jay for a few years. For
Yeah.
the people that don't know me, and I'm throwing an open invitation out to you, anybody that plays Heroclix. When we go to Origins and we go to conventions, we don't go there. The part of our deal isn't just that we're playing. We love playing Heroclix. I
Mm-hmm.
play Heroclix the whole time. But what we like to do, my wife and I, my son, the group that we go with, if a group is with us, we like afterward to grab as many people as we can, and we go out and we eat dinner together and we cut up. Sometimes we have a few drinks,
Yeah.
but we've got to develop a lot of good friendships that way.
Mm-hmm.
Jay being one of those. That's how I met him. We went out I think afterwards one night, um, and we had a good time. And I've known him since then. He as a player,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it was coming up for the Rock Cup, we were looking for somebody that that we could put in that could help us
Mm-hmm.
on the floor, and uh, Jay had volunteered, and I mentioned that to Pat,
Mm-hmm.
and Pat said that's great. Well, Jay came in there, and he's everybody's susceptible to making mistakes, including Jay, including Pat, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I can honestly say my impression of Jay is that he cares, and I mean and when he doesn't just care by word of mouth. He studies, he reads, he thinks about things.
Mm-hmm.
He gets involved in things, and so on and so forth. And that just so we had to have a new rock head judge, and I asked him, and he was very excited about that. I also can tell you that I ran this by WizKids, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get to be the head judge. That's who I've chosen for this, and he's already a part of the WizKid staff. Kenny thinks he's um, a great guy, and so it's pretty much blessed by everybody.
Good. Yeah, like I said, he's a good guy, and it's very rare that you see him make an error, and even then, it's probably the most informed error you've ever seen. So,
Correct.
that's good for him. He's a good guy, so I'm happy for him. So the next thing is number 12, which is Rock Cup changes. Points no longer required to enter, and there's two. Rock will be hosting two national championships. First one's Huntsville, Alabama. Time to be announced. And then there's going to be regional and qualifier side events. And then there's going to be constructed teams national championship with an extreme Highlander rule. Main event on Sunday for sealed national championship. And then, the four players from last year's Rock Cup will receive free entry into the sealed championship. So that's pretty cool there. I guess I'll slide in a question now that we were going to talk about later. Is it says sealed and constructed national champions. And I've seen this a few different places where there's a reference to one sealed and one constructed. Is that something that we're going to be seeing more of? Is there going to be like a sealed team champ, a constructed world champ, and then sealed U.S. national champ, constructed U.S. national champ, and then all the other countries, or is that just for Rock?
I think it could be developed elsewhere. Right now, this is how that came about. I took the cash out,
Mm-hmm.
but I still wanted to have I still wanted to have a major events, and so I wanted to have something that people wanted to go to. Well, I think that what we run for 3 or 4 days is awesome, anyways. But
Mm-hmm.
people that maybe have been there, what's to attract them? They don't really know unless they go. To be honest with you, our 3 or 4 days at Lucky Dice is as close to a convention as some people will ever see.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it might be better. I mean, it has all the ingredients of a convention. It's all together. The difference is that it's all Heroclix. I mean, it's probably the only thing that I know of out there that's that big that is dedicated just to Heroclix and has all the ingredients that we're talking about. But anyway, we wanted to have something that was attractive, so I shot WizKids. I said, why don't we do this? And it started off with calling them world qualifiers. I said, well, can we just make them national championships? And they, without hesitancy, they said, yeah. And so I got that from them. So they're not, don't think of this as a Rock national championship. Think of this as a Heroclix national championship.
Mm-hmm.
If you are crowned the Heroclix sealed national champion, you are a Heroclix national champion, not a Rock national champion. That's not the way I'm looking at it. And and you can get points and everything to go into nationals and to go into worlds from there. I mean, you get points also. So that's those things are things that I wanted to add in there. And we obviously couldn't have 2 national constructed championships, being that there's already one. So I wanted to go a different route, and we kicked around different things. And I'd already tested the constructed sealed, and I'd already and sealed is kind of the happy medium between what we would call constructed meta players and casual players. Sealed has always been the happy ground between them. And I mentioned this to you earlier about sealed, about team sealed. It's probably the fun and probably the most look forward to event at nationals and worlds, in my opinion, of all the players, even those of us that play in singles.
Mm-hmm.
And the intent, the COO at WizKids invented this. His name's Brian, and
Mm-hmm.
he came up with that idea a few years ago. And his intent was to bring in sealed because it's something that people like to play, but also to make it a team event where players have. And so I wanted to take something along his mind, what his idea was, and apply it at the Cup too. And so that's what we've done. We've got a team sealed, which I think needed to be there. I think that we've had people for years. It doesn't mean, winning. I'll go so far as winning a world championship. When
Mm-hmm.
I won the world championship, I don't think that I was necessarily the best player on the face of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I had my moment where I developed a team that was different than everybody else. I
Mm-hmm.
have enough skill to run it and play other people, and I had enough luck during the tournament to win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that can. So when somebody, I don't care if you win constructed, or if you win sealed, or if you win, some combination of the two, it doesn't define you as the best player on the planet. It defines you as putting everything together at that particular moment and winning the big tournament.
Right.
And yeah, you're the world champion. Yeah, you're the national champion, and you deserve it. But it doesn't mean that you're the best ever.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it. And I think that sealed is very attractive. I think that the constructed team event that we do, we've ran it and tested it. Everybody loved it that played it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, you have to really think
Right.
as a team on on what we're going to come up with, because we have an extreme Highlander rule in there.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things we're looking for. And I also throw this out is that we're working towards, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but it might. But I think next year it's probably 99% going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to run a similar event on the West Coast.
Okay.
And there may be another national championship out there of a different type format.
Okay, that's awesome. That sounds cool. All right, so we'll go along to announcement number 9 is we going to Gen Con. So it looks like we're going to be running a few different events hand in hand with WizKids. So that's cool. I know a lot of people really like they hold Gen Con in high regards and really think that we should have a presence there, which I agree with. So it's good to see that we're going back to that. So I guess there's not really that. Do you have anything you want to say about that, or not really?
Well, other than it's going to be major, we're going to do all the things that the events are going to be that people want to go to. I think we all used to go to Gen Con, and Gen Con used to be our thing. Now I'm personally an Origins guy, but I love Gen Con too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Origins has a special place in my heart, always will.
Yeah.
But second to that, I love Gen Con, and there's nothing wrong with Gen Con. They're very similar. Gen Con's a little bit bigger. I just have different reasons for liking Origins.
Right.
The last time when WizKids pulled out, there was nothing there for a minute. And then they came in kind of, I think, at the last minute. They went on the football field, which I thought was cool, but not everybody did.
Yeah.
But it was announced too late.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to get word out there really fast that, hey, we're going to be there. We're there. We're going to run events. They're going to be major events. We're going to run a regional. We're probably going to run a qualifier. We're definitely going to be running winning maps. We're going to have battle royals. We're going to have some special events. We're going to have great prizing. You get points. You can I wanted to make sure that we got the word out way ahead so people weren't surprised and they could plan around it.
Right. Yeah, and it looks you're running a few large events there. Don't take me kind of skimming over it as nothing's going on there. There's a bunch of stuff going on there. What does it say? A qualifier and a regional at least, and then there's some other stuff going on too. So that's
regionals definite. Winning maps are definite. the qualifier is probable.
Okay, very cool. All right, so next one is announcement number 10 that the Powell Farm and Friends Forever maps, they are the what are they? Will be introduced and introduced at the ROC Cup in 2018 champions. These maps are going to be the fourth quarter prize maps, and that they're purchasable from Gamers Mats starting January 1st. And they'll have the WizKids logo on them, so they'll be WizKids illegal, which is cool there. So that's correct. They're going to be purchasable, right?
That's correct, and that's not something we normally do.
Correct. Yeah.
That's I did this. Okay. We discussed when map legality.
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to create as fair a playing field as possible, and or at least the opportunity. So there's a lot of players out there that haven't played in ROC that, for one reason or another, not worry about having ROC maps for one reason or another, and they already can all the maps that are ROC legal for the last quarter of the year were already purchasable on Gamers Map. However, the prize maps were not.
Right.
So the prize maps are intended to be prize maps. Only back in the day, back when we first started ROC, when a new quarter started, I would take one or two maps and I would throw them on eBay the very first quarter. I did this for different reasons. Obviously, to get some money in return, but also it gave me an opportunity to look to see what kind of value those maps would be. And I literally saw maps that I was out there bring $200+ in Europe. I kid you not.
Yep.
I mean, I was as surprised as anybody. But they did, and they do. And pretty much anytime that I wanted to have that we started a new quarter, I could take prize maps and throw them on eBay, and I assure you, each one of those will bring $100+. I assure you that they will. I've seen it. I've tested it. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done it for a while. I actually caught a little bit of flack for it from some people in the West Coast, and I don't disagree with what they said, but the purpose of why I did it was different than what they thought it was.
Right.
So anyway, the point is that we don't sell maps. I do sell maps that are overstocked. If you go into our ROC site right now, you'll find some of these maps we're talking about that's on the ROC site, and I've got a few on eBay. They're maps that are left over. They're inventory that I have to do something with. I do sell those, but they're usually limited. I think I did not have one farm map left, but I think I had 11 forever maps, and I put them on the store, and I've sold I think 3 or 4 of them in the last week.
Yeah.
But point is that I wanted to have an even playing field, and so because these maps were prized, that meant that unless you bought overstock from me, which wasn't much of, that players that were trying to get into ROC would never have the opportunity, except on the secondary market, to be able to get these particular maps if they wanted them to play in WizKids Open. And I felt like that wasn't fair because not everybody had the opportunity. So what we did for January and February, everybody can purchase these maps if they want to. I have no intentions. Doesn't mean that it won't happen, but I have no intentions of doing that again. And again, that doesn't. I'm not saying that it never happened, because I don't like to say never.
Right.
Things change, but I can tell you that the plan is not to do that again.
Okay. Cool. All right, so like I was saying, for those of you at home, I had a small glitch with the computer, but I was going to say the guys that design the maps, I think they're not going to have a problem with them being accessible to everybody. I think I know if I designed a map and I thought everybody wanted to use it, I'd be excited about it. So that's just good there. So the next thing we're going to move along to is day 11. which is for judges. We're just going to cover this briefly because not everybody's a judge. But the cool thing is it used to be in the past for ROC judges, prizing was slim, to put it bluntly. But now you guys are handing out points. And depending on what you do, on what level you judge at, you get a different amount of points. You get 5 points for win a map all the way through 30 points for regional judge. And then on top of that, you get 1 point per participant. So that's really cool there. And then you can redeem those points for an entry into a world or a national championship, just like the players' points. Now, these are separate from the players' points, correct?
That's correct. They work a little bit different. The judges' points, the reason that it's set up the way that it is for two. There's two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, we want to reward judges
mm-hmm.
for doing what they do. Two, we want judges to run tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you run, the more involved you are, the bigger your tournaments are, the more you get, because you get points based on levels of tournaments, but you also get points based on attendance.
Correct.
So if you had a win a map, which is the lowest amount of points you can get, but you had 30 people show up,
mm-hmm.
you're going to get 30 points.
Right.
Which could conceivably be just as much as a qualifier.
Right. Yeah, so that's really exciting. We're not gonna labor on that too much, but I think that's a really cool program that a lot of judges should be excited about. And you guys are also having a judge test, which is good. I think that's cool. You don't have to have it for the win-a maps, but I think you need it for your what event level do you have to have?
You don't. You don't. Let me clarify that. You will never have to be a certified judge to run ROC events.
Oh, okay.
That's not the once you become a certified judge. Now, we would like to have ROC judges all ROC events. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to have that. But you're not employees, and it's a voluntary basis. And what you do is, of course, you get a pat on the back from us.
Mm-hmm.
We give you a few points for doing that. You get a pin,
mm-hmm.
and you get to say you know your stuff.
Right.
But the biggest thing is we tell everybody else you know your stuff, and we put you on a list of venues when they need a judge. If they want somebody to run an event, this is who they go to. Now, if they want to compensate you in some way, that's up to them. If you just want to go there just to do whatever, that's up to you and them and whatever you work at. We are going to reward you for running events at the end of the year, but what you do on any event, that's between you and them. And
okay.
That's why we're doing what we're doing. So I want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay. That's awesome though. So just to, get that little thank you is nice. And then day 12 was a contest that you guys ran, and you already took care of that, so no sense in really covering that. But again, if you guys want this kind of news, obviously subscribe here, but also check out the Facebook page for Realms Open Championship, just because that's a really quick way. You're just sitting at the doctor's office waiting for your appointment. You can check out the Heroclix news without people having to listen to my voice. So I guess the next thing we'll talk about is when you decided to do this pseudo merger with WizKids, was there something like, what was the thing that hurt the most to give up to just get this process done?
Well, I'm an independent type guy,
mm-hmm.
and being able to make, even when we started running ROC, one of the things that was frustrating to me at times, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because sometimes it worked out in the favor.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate being caught up in decision making and
mm-hmm.
long processes.
Mm-hmm.
I like to make a decision and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do that as much now. I have somebody else to think about, and it's not been a process, but I do have to. If I want to do something, I have to let somebody else be involved in it. And the other thing is that you got to understand that I feel like ROC has been my creation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you create something, you know, it's you're kind of proud of it, and you want it to be what the best that it can be, and you want everybody to love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things that twisted. The money wasn't hard for me to give up with, all the rules, just sometimes just being bogged down in decision making and making sure that the creation, I guess, is the things that I would say, but the things gained far outweighed the things lost.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you didn't like switching from a speedboat to a leisure cruise liner. You liked being
Correct.
able to do what you want when you wanted, and now, you got to talk to some people. But
That's it. Pretty much it.
yeah, but that's yeah. Okay, I can see that. That would be tough to go from that to the other thing. But it's like you said, it's for the best. So we're at least happy that you're the guy in there doing it for us. But
Well, I appreciate it.
yeah. So the next thing we have is regionals. You wanted to talk about this one, so you can go ahead and take that away.
All right, I want to point out two things with this. In fact, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to begin getting people pointed harder at our website.
Okay.
There's a ton of information on the website. There's about to be more.
Yes.
I've got WKO points will be up on the website soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very close to getting that on there. There's some other things that are there, but you got rules, and you got there's so much there. If people need to really go and look at what's there
Mm-hmm.
on the website. You've got an event calendar. You've got information about who we are and what we do. You've got links to all the WizKid stuff. There's actually a link on there that I got from he's another friend that I met the same way at Origins,
Mm-hmm.
Clay Woods. And he's got a little site, and that he keeps up with every single map that's been made, ROC, and you can go on there and you can look at all the different maps.
Yep.
And with all the details about it. We've got that there. We've got build sheets. We've got kit contents. We've got everything we got links straight to the WizKids sites, the stuff that you need to go and find out things about. We've got all the podcast links on there. Your podcast
Mm-hmm.
is on there. Every podcast that has given me a link in there, they're with WizKids. I mean, that do Heroclix
Mm-hmm.
are on the site. And we do put news there that is newsworthy. We put Dan posts for me during the year, and he posts event results.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go straight there and see the event results. You can see the state tournaments as we start assigning them. It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a little bit different than where I wanted to say, but I'm asking you to point people there, because we want to see some traffic at the website. And there's a store there. There's a store there that's
Mm-hmm.
got maps and ROC product, going to be WizKids product. Now,
Yep.
I'm not saying, I'm not talking about Heroclix, but I can sell T-shirts with Heroclix on it. I have the right to sell those, and the blessing with WizKids to sell those. Of different things, and I've got some ideas of stuff that we want to put up on the site,
Mm-hmm.
using the WizKids logo, the WKO logo. We're going to have those kind of mugs.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all kinds of stuff there for people to go and look at. We can custom make T-shirts, team shirts, all kinds of stuff. I just need people to know that it's there, and I don't think that they realize that it's there. But I do know in time that people will discover it. We just need to. I just need to start getting them pointed. But on there, the events. If you click the event tab,
Mm-hmm.
we started putting everything on Google Calendar.
Okay.
Now, what's cool about that is you can pull up each month by month, week by week, day by day,
Mm-hmm.
and it tells you the event that's going on. You click it, tells you where the event is, what state it is, and gives you the venue name. So you see everything that's upcoming. And that's something different. And what's cool about that is if you use Google Calendar on your own, you can link this up to your own Google Calendar where you see stuff all the time. Or if you see something you want to add to your Google Calendar, you can do that. So we
Okay.
keep that up to date. We have, I checked this morning, and I've already had kits we're selling kits. We're selling 1 to 5 kits a day right now. Sales are phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
and we're adding events in on a daily basis. Winter maps are selling like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Flyers are doing good, but what we did is we were going to schedule 15. We have enough supplies, and I want you to understand this also. I want everybody to understand this. We planned ROC Kids prize support at the tail end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to when I was asked if we could do this. If I was asked, WizKids approached me,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it was a no-brainer because it's something I always want to do anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
we had once I said yes, and I started getting involved with WizKids. Kenny and I had to go and make plans, stuff that was already ordered. In other words, we weren't able to plan pricing things out to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, for 2020, we're going to be able to order way ahead and plan pricing out way ahead. If we can do what we're doing now with what we had left over, imagine what we can do with pre-planning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll get
So we
crazy.
have enough material, enough what we call the con exclusives and everything
Mm-hmm.
that we can run. We figured in we could run 15 regionals the first half of the year and 15 regionals the second half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up bumping that up to 16.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 13 of the 16 scheduled already on the calendar,
Wow.
all over the country. I've got 3 that I already know where they're going to be. They just haven't given me dates yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there are regionals going on all over California, Canada, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Arizona, Texas, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place. Now, the way you get a regional is do business with ROC.
Mm-hmm.
Do business with us. Be a good venue. Report on the win. The places that got selected, we've already had a relationship with either through ROC / WizKids, and they were a natural to ask.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of hand selected, but again, and also the same thing for states.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody wants to run states, but if you're a venue that hasn't run anything for ROC and you say, hey, I want to run states, and I've got another venue that's in the same state as you, and they've run 2 or 3 ROC tournaments, who do you think is going to get chosen?
Right, yeah.
So the point is if you want these big events, if you want to run a state tournament, the easiest way to claim it for yourself is to run ROC events.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's a reward. We think regionals and states are a reward to venues, because we think they're an esteemed tournament and the prizing's phenomenal. The regionals are even set up to where you can buy convention exclusives and resell them.
Right, yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah, that's good for them.
Exactly, and that's what the point is we want venues to want to do this. We want venues to be excited about running a big ROC event. We want them to be something that there's no doubt that they want to run it, and that's what we're going towards.
Right. That is awesome. And the link for the ROC page will be in the comments section of this video, just for you guys to click on and click around. It is a really underutilized resource. It's getting pretty good there. I was clicking around the other day and I saw the WizKids Open points were under construction, so that got me pretty hyped for that part. So that's pretty cool there. I'm looking forward to the regionals, so hopefully I can get a W in one of those, but we'll see. So the next thing we have is, are there any, without breaking any NDAs or anything like that, is there any upcoming announcements that you'd like to tease for us, titillate the senses with?
I think that you guys should be looking for a WizKids announcement in the next week or so. Maybe this week, next week.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
Okay. Very cool. We will keep an eye out for that, and I'll share that to all my stuff when that happens. And let me think here. One thing I'm gonna we're doing you're doing pre-orders for EarthX now, correct? With Lucky Dice.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Absolutely am. All the way up to the 20th month. And if you want to get those, you need to order soon. They're at a good price. I think the set's going to sell really well.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to share something else with you.
Yeah.
Dice. I did get approved here in the last week, in the last couple of days, actually, that we are going to start doing reviews of figures. Also, you see some of these, like I know that New Jersey Highlander Games just did a recent preview of some figures. The first, I think it was actually the first one where they previewed, which, by the way, that ROC I really like.
Yeah, he's good.
But they did a preview. That's also a regional location, just so you guys know. That's one of the places that's doing a regional is Highlander Games in New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
And they did a preview, and we're going to be doing those at Lucky Dice also. So if you guys are interested in seeing good clicks information, we kind of think of ourselves at Lucky Dice as being the Heroclix capital of the world.
Yep.
Because we have ROC there, and we have big tournaments there. We have a good local scene. We have a huge eBay business.
Yep.
We have clicks for sale. So we just feel that way. And we're involved with a lot of different places. And we be doing announcements there. I'm hoping that might lead into some case openings in the future. And I also I got told that I was going to be able to do the preview. It's not in this set, but that we'd be able to do the preview for the 2 figures that we designed for winning the World Championship.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm jealous. Good for you guys. So the link to the Lucky Dice web page is always in the description of the video, of all my videos. So you guys can just click there for the Lucky Dice Facebook page to make sure to give them a like, so that whenever they do have that stuff and you get to see the previews, you'll get the little notification that they have done that there. So that's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to plug before we wrap this up?
Nothing specific. I can tell you that next weekend is the first qualifier of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 of them. There's one going on in Texas, and there's one going on at Big Bang in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. I think that they're both next weekend. I know that there's quite a few regionals, including Lucky Dice's regional will be in February.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's one in Arizona. I'm going by memory right now. I know there's one in Arizona. I know there's one at there's one at Lucky Dice. I can't remember all the others, but there's more than that, and so that's coming up really soon. We're big events are coming, and they're right around the corner.
That's awesome. Yeah, and make sure, again, check out the comments section for the ROC webpage, and you can check out that Google Calendar that should have all that stuff on it. So anyway, we just wanted to say thank you to Howard for being on here, taking time out of his very busy schedule. This is one of the busiest guys you'll ever see online. He is bordering on omnipresent on all social media platforms. So thank you, Howard, for carving out what actually ended up being a pretty considerable amount of time to be on here with us. And hopefully we can have you on again in the future. If there's other big announcements, that would be nice. And anytime you want to come on, just let me know. We'll bring you on, even if it's just to shoot the breeze or something like that. But all right, guys. So that's all we have for you today. As always, please remember that it's only critical miss if you don't have probability control.